We start off with the major news. Russian Ivanets missile boat has been sunk. So a lot of people commented in the yesterday's SITREP or the Frontline Changes report, criticizing that I totally avoided this report. It's not true. The reason this is not reported yesterday was because at the time of recording, this information have not actually even came out. It was after the upload that this information came out. So which is now why I covered this. And importantly, this thing happened on the 1st of February, early morning, and it's not when the SITREP is actually talking about the day before. So yeah, that is the main thing. Of course, the videos take time to appear on the internet. So the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that they destroyed a missile boat of the 41st Brigade of the missile boats of the Black Sea Fleet. And this is actually corroborated by Ryba. Ryba mentioned that Ukrainian side actually published a video of the strike on the missile boat. This is attacked by surface drones, and the video footage that I seen suggests that the same missile boat got hit multiple times, at least by 3 different surface suicide drones. So which is why the boat is believed to be sunk. So the Russian Defense Ministry have not released any statement about this thing yet. The official Russian side, the Russian government or the military, have not acknowledged this incident yet. So we will wait for the Russians to acknowledge this information and see what they're gonna say. Most likely they're gonna say this is damaged and they're sending it back to the Crimea for repair. Something like this. Yeah, just like their Moscow battle cruiser that was like lightly damaged, and then it is going back to Crimea for repair, and then it just disappear into the Black Sea. So we go on to the there's nothing over the border region. We move into the Kupyansk Front. So over at the Kupyansk Front, there is no more major offensive in that sense. The Ukrainians are actually attacking at Sinkivka. They are still attacking Sinkivka, counter-attacking, whereas there is this new vector of attack coming from the Russians. They are now attacking Ivanivka. So this Ivanivka is actually have not seen action since early in January, 5th to 7th, and this is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They reported 5 different attacks near Ivanivka. So this is interesting. We will continue to monitor and see how this progress. Nothing is spoken about this salient that the Russians have created in the Kreminna, Tabaivka, Belostove region. This is not mentioned at all now. I think the Russians are still doing the consolidation in this area here. So the Russians are pushing in the new direction. Ivanivka region is a bit more harder. This area here is very heavily entrenched by the Ukrainian forces. So we will continue to monitor and see how this goes. Some geolocation of Ukrainian forces within at Sinkivka and in the western part of Sinkivka, I think nothing particularly special. This is just an anti-mine operation. They use the Comet system, and then this one was this just drone attack. So yeah, so that's it from the Kupyansk Front. There's nothing over at the Zaporizhzhia Front. We move into the Kreminna Front. So this is Kreminna, and this is the Kreminna Front. At the Kreminna Front, Russian forces and Ukrainian forces continue their positional battle in this region here. Frontline did not really change at all. The Russians are attacking at Terny, Yampolivka, and Dibrova, as well as Serbiansky Forestry. Ukrainians are counter-attacking or attacking at Terny, Yampolivka, Dibrova. So pretty much similar, the strategic situation. So it's just an active clash between the two forces. No changes at all is being reported. We move into the Siversk Front. This is Siversk City. So this is the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, we have Russians attacking Verkhnokamyanske as well as Bilohorivka. Ukrainian forces getting hit within Bilohorivka itself. I think by by airstrike. So this is a situation. I think what I would urge to look more into, or to anticipate more, is the Verkhnokamyanske situation. Verkhnokamyanske is getting hotter and hotter slowly. We have 14, 15, 19, 31st, and then 1st of February. So things are slowly ramping up over at Verkhnokamyanske, and this is a direct road direct into Siversk. So this is the main thing. We shall continue to monitor and see how this goes. If you want to watch the full uninterrupted SITREP all the way from the frontline changes to the strategic tactical report to the conclusions, all in one video with no advertisement, do support DPA on Patreon, Locals, Boosty, YouTube membership, and coffee. Become a DPA Sergeant, Officer, and General, and you'll get access to a totally uninterrupted and no ads SITREP. Over at the Bakhmut Front, this is Bakhmut City, and this is Bakhmut Front. At the northern half of the Bakhmut Front, there is Russian forces attacking at Kromove as well as Ivanivka. Ukrainians are counter-attacking over at Ivanivka, and that's mainly the thing. There is some heavy bombardment of Ukrainian forces over these two tree lines, these two parcels. So this one of them, this I believe this is TOS 1A. Yeah, so this is hit by the Russian thermobaric missiles, and this is hit by Russian airstrikes. So I'm not sure what is the main thing over here. The Russians are focusing on these groups of forests. I wonder if the Russians are nearby. There is of course reports of Russians attacking from Kromove region, so it could be that they are attacking in this direction, and Ukrainians are having a stronghold in this area here. So and then there is of course I already mentioned about the Ukrainians taking some grounds in the south of Avdiivka. So we will continue to monitor the situation over in the northern flank of the Bakhmut Front. In the southern flank, situation is pretty much similar. I forgot to color this. So the Russians are attacking at Klishevka as well as Kupyansk, and this is about it. There's not much other information, no frontline changes. So that's it from the Bakhmut Front. We move on. There's nothing. There's something over at the New-York Front. At the New-York Front, so this is Donetsk. This is New York. Pivdeny, Zalizny, Shumi, and over at Pivdeny, which is also known as Leninske or Leninskoye, the Russians are conducting an attack in this area here. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry themselves. This is probably a form of counter-attack because previously it was an attack by the Ukrainians around this area here. I believe in the New York region as well as Shumi region. So yeah, so previously the Ukrainians were attacking over here as over this area here. So the Russians are counter-attacking. So we will continue to monitor. This is largely going to be positional. The number of entrenchment in this region here, in the New York Donetsk region, this entire front line over here is super heavily fortified. So it's like Avdiivka. So there is no reason for the Russians to be pushing in this direction. As you can see, even pre-war fortifications that was identified was a whole line just east of New York. We move into the Avdiivka Front. So at the Avdiivka Front, as per the mention in the frontline changes report, the Russian forces is doing a massive pincer, and they have success in the north, punching into the northern parts of Avdiivka city itself. So the battles is now inside of Avdiivka in the north. Also, the fighting in the south within the Avdiivka city itself continues. The Russians are also continuing their push for the Donetsk filtration station, and Ukrainians are getting hit by the TOS 1A over in the south. We'll zoom in a bit. So Ukrainians have this position within this small neighborhood here, and the Russians are actually pushing in this area in the north, because in the south, in this area, these forest lines are all very, very heavily fortified. The Russians do not have an easy way to reach there, so they basically thermobaric missile strike this area here. The Russians continue to try to recapture this entire area, but it's still not yet successful. Ukrainian tanks can still easily maneuver into this northern part of this neighborhood and launch heavy strikes and attacks on the Russian infantry that is holding grounds within these houses over here. So in the northern half, this breakthrough is significant. We are looking at fighting within the Avdiivka city itself after the Russians have conquered basically the entire of the Dacha region, and the Russians could also probably penetrate through the forest and attack from a different direction. And so this is significant. And if this is this Russian push towards this lake region, the entire area here would fall, because there is no way to reinforce this Ukrainian forces that's holding position east of the Dacha unless going for one big round around the lake, and which will be highly risky. So the Russians we may be looking at the Russians taking over this entire area here within the next few days, if the Russian forces is able to hold this front line that they have been geolocated to be struck by Ukrainian FPV drones. So so this is actually super significant, and this is as big a breakthrough as it is from the south, in my opinion. So we will see the battle of Avdiivka continue and actually expanded right now. So we move over at the Opine region. Yeah, this is already geolocated. I already mentioned in the frontline changes report. The Russians are also attacking at Pervomayske and Nevelske. We don't have any updates in terms of the front line or what is currently happening. We will continue to monitor. So so the situation at the Avdiivka Front, attack from the north, from the south, from the southeast, and then also Pervomayske and Nevelske. So this is a strategic situation at Avdiivka. So we move on to the Donetsk Front. So this is the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, the Russian forces over at the Marinka sector continues to attack Krasnohorivka, as well as Khyokivka, as well as Novomikhailivka. The Ukrainian forces counterattack over at Novomikhailivka, and there's the geolocation of Russian forces over at Khyokivka in the north show that the Russians have done a major assault in the northern part of the Khyokivka region. Not sure how successful is this, but they definitely is geolocated on the other tree line. Ukrainian forces continue to be hit by FPV drones within the Khyokivka itself. We shall continue to monitor this area here. Novomikhailivka, as the frontline changes report, Ukrainian forces taken the south. So this is probably part of the counterattack. And on the other flank, the Zolota Neva situation continues. The Russian forces are still being reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry to be attacking Zolota Neva. So, like I mentioned previously, this is the city, or this is the development to watch, because if the Russians break through and capture this area here, this is going to mess up the entire strategic balance in this area here, and the Russians could totally just ignore Voleda and Preshestivka and all this region and just head north. So that's the main thing. I'll talk more about this in the conclusions. And over at the Zaporizhzhia Front, so this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this is the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, over the Velika Novosibirsk sector, which is over here, Ukrainians are on the counter-offensive. Ukrainian forces attack at Ukrainka, Staromayoske, as well as Preyone. So turning the tables, previously the Russians are the one making the attacks. Now we are seeing the Ukrainians doing these attacks. Away from Velika Novosibirsk, there's over the Khoyapole sector, there's only just one report, geolocation of Russian FPV attacking Ukrainian troops near Chervone, not important. Over at Orikhiv sector, this is Orikhiv's city, and this is the Orikhiv sector. Russian forces continue their fighting in this area here. Nesteryanka is not reported, but we still have the Malatomashka situation being reported. Robotine is also being mentioned. There is no mention of Verbove, but we do have something new. We have fighting reported at Luhivske. This information comes from the Russian Defense Ministry. We will continue to monitor this situation. It's very here and there, very random. So yeah, so this is definitely not becoming some major frontline at this moment. Things are very slow. Ukrainian forces geolocated in the southern part of Robotine. Nothing very special about this. Over at the Kayamske sector, the Russian forces continue their probing strategy. This time around, they are probing Zerebianki. So this is previously, the day before, is attacking Shebaki. So this time around, it's Zerebianki. I predict the next day is going to be Kayamske. So, but we shall see. Moving on, over at the Kherson Front. So this is the Kherson Front, and this is Kherson City. At the Kherson Front, Ukrainian forces continue to hold a front line within Krinky. This time around, we have a bit more details in terms of the mapping, so we are able to confirm where the front line is more or less be. Ukrainians continue to believe in holding this front line. They will continue to reinforce, and we shall wait and see. There is geolocation of Ukrainian boats getting hit at Terhinka, which is probably the main embarking region for the Ukrainian forces to go to Krinky. So this is probably the forward operating base for this entire operation. But we shall monitor. The boat is attacked by artillery systems, and further away there is some geolocation. This is Lancet hitting position of a UAV crew. I'm not sure how they tell. Somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And then there's another one of this. This is actually a tank getting hit by a Lancet. So both attacks was by Lancet and hitting this area here in the northwestern part of Terhinka. Otherwise, I think there's nothing much more over the Kherson Front. So that's it. So this is the summary for the day of 708 for the 1st of February. And now conclusions.